a motto song. Request all participants to hand on the heart.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
So, faculty of the day, Yagnesh Desai sir, chairman of the CA Fanilcha, in his absence, and all the participants. It is an indeed remarkable day for the Ahmedabad branch, as we have organized today in CA student conference. We are fortunate to host the same. Today we had a meeting with President and Vice President of the Institute, and both of them has given us insight about the reforms in the students or the now request introduce who is the Shazad bhai, can you unmute Ami Bohar, please?
Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible?
You are audible now.
Yeah. Good afternoon,
Yes.
everyone. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I, Ami Bodha, on behalf of Ahmedabad branch of WIRC of ICAI, hereby welcome you with all our hearts, sir, on the online webinar. Sir, let me introduce you. Here is a small introduction on behalf of you. Sir is Yagnesh Desai. He is a CA and CPA from USA. Sir has been practicing since 1983 and has a wide knowledge of audit and corporate and taxation matters. He has been actively associated with Institute of our CA. He is an even IFRS trainer. He has composed and delivered e-lectures for accounting standards for the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. He has been even a speaker on audit, accounting and auditing standards at various seminars of ICAI. Even he is a motivational speaker at various national conventions and student conferences. Between April 2009 till date, he has delivered 915 sessions and seminars in about 40 cities in India and abroad, and it is Sir's 916th session today. Sir is even a co-opted member of Accounting Standard Board of ICAI. Sir, we are very delighted to have you over here. Sir is presently working at Yagnesh Desai and Company, specializing in the field of GST, have delivered more than 500 talks on various issues in indirect taxation across India. Also associated with various forms, committees to make representation on various issues to the government. Also have made various representation to our authorities, including highest authorities, that is finance minister in the country, on issues on indirect taxes. Today, we are very lucky to have you, sir, to deal with 3 A's in the company law, that is account, audit, and auditor. Welcome, sir. Vishen bhai? Hello. Vishen bhai? Sir, you can start this session. Maybe there is communication gap over here, sir.
Yes, I can see there's some disturbance in the audio. Audio is not clear. There's something wrong with the audio. I mean, you have nothing to do with that, I understand. So don't worry about it. Don't fret.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's fine. That's fine. You can take off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So you made me the host? Okay.
Bishan bhai shall be the host.
So then how can I do that? Because if I am not the host, then how can I share my screen?
Just a second. Just a second, sir. So you are the host even. Yes, sir. You are co-host over here. You can. Your presentation is visible.
Is visible? Okay,
Yeah.
fine,
Yes,
fine,
sir.
fine. Thank you. So thank you very much, Ahmedabad branch, for inviting me. And it's always my pleasure that anything from Gujarat, my, Maru hayu khili uthe, I am always good. I mean, it was basically I'm Gujarati and from Vapi, my native, and I'm settled in Bombay, but my heart is still in Gujarat. Okay,
Sir, we welcome you with all our heart today.
thank you very much. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to share whatever I have allegedly known and experienced in my practical field. Friends, I'm nice to see that the numbers is about 111 plus. The total number of participants is 111. What a number. Triple 114. Very good, very good.
Sir, as you are dealing with 3 A's, the number is even in triple numbers.
Triple, yeah.
Yeah.
Triple, yeah. So, okay. In process of doing the IFRS and Indians consultancy and the seminars and lectures and making some presentation to the SEBI and ROC, I was, and sometimes it is requirement by the ROC and SEBI for me to make some studies of the annual reports. So in that pursuit, when I have come across, when my team has collected certain annual reports, I was shocked to see certain remarks. This is very, very sorry to say about it, but at the same time, there are so many compliances, and besides that, evolving compliances. Like for example, take the example of GST. I think GST is one thing which should now qualify to be entered in the Guinness Book of World Record. The maximum number of the circulars, clarifications, notifications, amendments, whatever you say under the sun is there in GST, and that too perhaps it no exaggeration, but per day one notification or something like that, and it's disturbing a lot. Secondly, changes are there in the accounting standards, in the compliance of the audit. Many threshold limits you need to be very careful and concerned about, like cash flow when is required, rotation of auditors when is required. So all these numbers and threshold limit will be very careful. And I have realized one thing, because I still consider myself to be a very small practitioner. I'm not that big, but I realized one thing, that in the Mofusal places, on the second tier cities also, the clients are very skeptical about paying fees, and they don't remunerate us very well. Am I right, sir? Is this the concern everywhere? Jagdish Bhai Patel, who is this Jagdish Bhai Patel? Is a part of your team, so that I can ask some questions to him. or maybe Amit, Ami, can you give me the reaction of the audience? Audience, can you give your reaction of the chat box so that Ami can see that, or maybe perhaps even I can see that? I'm sure you'll agree with me that as compared to the enormous amount of compliances, as compared to the enormous amount of the compliances, we are not adequately paid. Yes or no, friends? Tell me one thing. Hello? Tell me one thing. Yes or no? Yes. Second one thing which I agree, which I realize, that clients do not come on time. They do not come on time. They always come at the last moment. Everything else is in their life has a priority except our chartered accountant. And ultimately, uh, 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 inaudible. I'm audible or not audible? Hello.
You are audible, sir.
I'm not audible. Come on, sir.
You are audible, perfectly audible, sir.
I'm perfectly audible. Fine, 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 fine. So the point is that, see, basically, no one would like to make any mistake or don't comply with any of the statutory requirement, because we know now that Institute of becoming very CA, and now NAFRA is the body which is overseeing all this, the requirement of the compliances. And sometimes, besides compliances, I have realized in 2 or 3 cases where I had to appear before the disciplinary committee, that it was a very small private limited company, but not much. And there was very small error, that investment in quotable instrument naturally has to be, and which is meant for the long term, has to be carried at cost in the financial statements. Yes or no, friends? Sir, I have kept my chat box open, so agar aapki आवाज nahi aati mujhe, तो at least SMS के माध्यम से मुझे please कुछ साथ दीजिए, सहयोग दीजिए, if you agree or not agree. Yes, please. Because that's why I feel that I'm sitting before the live audience. Otherwise, मुझे लगता है कि मैं केवल एक news reader हूं, ऐसा लग रहा है मुझे. Okay. So the mistake or the so-called lapse was very negligible. Guys, can you hear me? Just respond on the chat, Baba, please. That you see that the long-term investments are to be carried in the books of accounts at the cost. And if they are quoted investments, then at the end of the note, we have to mention, is a requirement, disclosure requirement, that the total aggregate amount of the unquoted shares as per the market value and the cost of this thing. Yes, yes. Now that Janab forgot, and he has mentioned the same amount as the cost, as the carrying amount. Carrying amount is say about 10 lakhs. Market value of these shares investment is 10 lakhs, and that too a renowned listed company, is not like some dabba company or something like that where there is no movement and something like that. For this requirement, he was summoned by the DC. Now there's a very minuscule small company, not like that publics are interested and somebody has made use of this, but the ex shareholder director of the company had lodged a complaint to the ROC. Anything can happen, sir. And these things make at that point of time, sir, nobody is going to see that when and at what point of time the client has given this information to you. And normally what happens with the small and the medium enterprises, chartered accountant is there. So when they hire an auditor, they think they have hired the mukaddam. They have hired the mukaddam. They simply give the tally account, and when we find in the first place the accounts written by them on the tally are such a bloody that sometimes is being written by some trainee personnel, and he doesn't know ABC of account, or maybe he doesn't know too much, and simply he makes mistakes left, right, and center. Now the client expects us to correct this mistake and to prepare the financial statements, to prepare the thing. And when the cash flow statement was made compulsory, except the small company, 1% company, and the dormant company, they expect us to do this. They expect us to do this. And I don't need to tell you in so many words, but we know only that how perfectly the cash statements are being prepared, right? And mostly when it comes to the taxes paid. So इस बारे में जितना कम कहा जाए उतना ही उचित रहेगा. Fine. Regardless, So at that point of time, client will say, "Arey sahab, aap hi kar do na sir, please." So, but when it comes to remuneration, "Arey क्या सब आपके लिए तो लेफ्ट हैंड का काम है सर, दे दो, इसमें क्या, अभी इतने साल का संबंध है, घर के जैसे संबंध है, क्या सर आपसे हम उम्मीद नहीं करेंगे तो कौन करेंगे? इफ यू डोंट गिव दिस वर्क देन वी विल डू दैट." But then people forget that how much expertise, how much time is required. So if I say something, forgive me, is not to make any derogatory remark about any person, and not to say that we CA are not doing a proper work. No, please, not at all. मुझे पूरी हमदर्दी है, sympathy for small and medium enterprises, CAs, and I am also part of you on this. So we know that the common problems are the client do not turn up on time, and now we are grappling with the number of deadlines. This GSTR 3B, then 1, and this and that, and 9 and 9C, and then so many compliances, and so it is very difficult. The only thing, sir friend, I see is you need to be very disciplined. You need to be very disciplined and strict with the client. I was discussing day before yesterday, with the one of the ex-chairman of the WRC, and he was also same thing, Sergi. We have seen that the quality of compliance is deteriorating, and it's a really matter of concern. Now, how do we tide over this? I said, sir, the continuous education and the grooming is very important, and at the same time, we see the problem that which sometimes don't get the proper trainees, proper people, not good work, good hands. And the moment sometimes they get trained, they flew away. So the job, the turnover of the staff is attrition rate is very high. So that's also one of the problems. So you need to invest heavily in the systems. Make system inevitable, not the people. See, you see all these huge banks and all these startup companies and all these, they have invested heavily in the system. So when you order, everything gets automatically transmitted to the aggregator of the this courier charges, courier services, and immediately it will go to the vendor. Vendor will turn, then courier charges you select. That company will select, interact with the vendor, and you sometime owner doesn't know how many orders you have received, right? So the basic thing is that you must invest in the ERP system, because how many people you'll keep on training about things. So jitna mechanism hoga, itna badhiya hoga, sir. So anyway, coming there, back to the discussion with the chairman, sir, ex-chairman, sir, of WRC, we say, sir, it is really a matter of concern, and more so now, the ROC and the other agencies are keeping watch on our audit reports. So don't presume ke kaun jo se shoot se wo nahi karo, but you have to really make investment in that. So he said that yes, a continuous education program is very, very important and is a must. And the thappa psychology has to be removed. So at that point of time, he discussed about unity. There's one place in Maharashtra, Aurangabad, if I'm not, yes, Aurangabad, there the unity of CA is such that if someone gives up a work from, if the client takes a work from a particular CA, the B particular CA will not take this work unless he has in great detail, in reality, in good spirit, discuss with the ex-chartered accountant of that client, okay, by what has happened and all kind of thing. And believe me that the unity is so much so good that other CAs will not accept the work of that chartered accountant, that client. So what is the unity? Because the fear factor is there. Then he said the good word, Mr. Desai, is a fear factor. यज्ञेश भाई, ये fear factor ऐसा है कि ये client का काम मैं नहीं करूंगा तो कोई और CA लेके जाएंगे. If I don't do this work, someone else will take away. So dear friends, hello, do you agree with this argument? Yes or no, this fear factor? Do you agree with the fear factor? Hello?
Yes, sir.
But I am not getting any response from my all my participants, please. Fear factor. दूसरा CA बैठा है, कब ये इसका काम मिले, and he will snatch you up. And it's kind of a blackmailing, and so this is one thing. It's at a very macro level. This macro and micro level, both things this has to happen. Now, friends, for some reasons there are always changes in the presentation requirement, in the disclosure requirement. by the accounting standard, by the auditing standards. I must say that this new auditing standard has been introduced maybe last year or a year before, but still, even today till 90, I am seeing some audit reports in the old format when the opinion is given at the end. Why? Because we rely on article clerk. And as per last year કે ગયા વખતમાં કરેલું એ પ્રમાણે જોઈ લો, this is very devastating. So we all know there are limitations, clients come at the last moment, and I'm sure yesterday must be a very difficult time for all of us while filing the filing the IT audit, uploading the TAR, because clients don't give the information, they come at the last moment, then उसमें सबसे ज़्यादा system slow down हो जाती, so many problems in pre-document. But sir, the reality is that you have to save your skin. You have to save your skin, and you need to invest on yourself, on your system, and on your people. I like, for example, I'll show you one live, if you permit. I'll show you one live balance sheet of the listed company in Mumbai. In Mumbai, mind you well, they have used the word statement of profit and loss account. Instead of statement of profit and loss, they have used the word statement of profit and loss account. Account word is not there. It's only statement of profit and loss. Sir, this small thing, these are small thing, right? But matters a lot. Matters a lot. If you are keen on about small things, I think then you can not make a mistake on the bigger thing. So how to combat this? Train your staff, invest on the technology, and always educate your client that look, you say sahi kari apo, but it is not just sahi kari apo, it is an audit. Sometimes you get many statements. સાહેબ એક મોકલ્યું છે ડેટર્સ નું સ્ટેટમેન્ટ જરા સહી કરી આપો ને બેંક ને જોઈએ છે. Sometimes they say I need it from the foreign exchange department, you know, that or maybe they want to get some licenses. So yes or no, they simply say sahi kari aap. Correct? But it is nothing but then assertion for us, you know, attestation for us. Correct? And there are so, and don't simply write sign on anything. Debtors ka list diya, thappa mara. Correct? Correct? Certified true copy. Don't do that unless you've seen the numbers. You ask for the balance sheet. Sir, I'll give you a very recent example. And this has happened. The client blackmailed the chartered account. How they blackmailed the chartered account? He said, I'm going to approach the ICA. He had finalized accounts for March 2018 and 19. Client was maintaining accounts on the tally. Now this gentleman CA has genuinely based on the tally account of March 2018 and 19. And you know, sir, the most devastating fact of the tally, एकदम भयानक खतरनाक जो एक चीज है वो tally में क्या है? You can edit anytime. Yes or no? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You can edit anytime. Yes, sir? Yes or no?
Yeah. We can modify it.
Modify, yeah. You can modify anytime.
Yeah.
Now, would you like to unmute someone? आप किसी से पूछो कि यज्ञेश भाई से hot seat पे आएंगे क्या? I want one of the audiences to come on the hot seat, please. Hello.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm asking for any of the participants.
Hi, participants. Would you like to come on the hot seat, please? Please come on the hot seat. I'm not going to ask you the grilling question. I'm not going to ask you any other question about the accounting standard or something, but I want just your endorsement. Any senior member, if you come, I'll be more happy.
Participants, just drop the message. I will unmute you.
Hi, guys. You're not interested to talk to me?
I think so. We only talk today. No one else is coming over here right now.
कोई नहीं है क्या कि सब चालू करके साइड में चले गए हैं? Okay. Chalo Kanya, so then I ask you the question that yes, it is easy to modify the tally records.
Yes, sir.
Now the only mistake done by the chartered accountant. So when he finalized accounts of that particular account for the March 2018 and 19, yes, he forgot to take the printout of the balance sheet on which they had said that we approved this tally data, and based on this trial balance, finally prepare, go finalize the books of accounts and file the return and conduct the audit.
Yes.
Had he taken, so what they did, they made some changes retrospectively
Okay.
after the audit was done. And then they say, okay, sir, this is our tally trial balance and this is your balance sheet. You have not done your work correctly. Your audit report is wrong, even if you have prepared, because we relied on you that you must have taken a proper data from the balance, from the tally
Right.
data. Even if we have signed, we say, we maintain that you ask us to sign it hurriedly and we signed it. Of course, when anyone signs the data and adopt in the board, it is their responsibility, but then they allege the other way around, because the auditor
Right.
signs only after the board is accepted. I do agree with you, but then they put this, okay, you have wrongly done this balance sheet and we are at a loss now. You have also prepared the income tax return based on this data, whereas our income. Would someone like to come here, please? Hello? कोई क्या पूछे? Hello? Hello? Madam, no one likes to come on the this thing. Hello? Nobody? Okay, fine. So you should be careful that when you finalize any financial statements of any client, whether it's a private limited company or a partnership firm, anyway, private limited company, we have some support that they are accepted, authorized, and they are adopted in the board meeting. But even for the private limited LLPs or the partnership firm or individual, please make sure that the trial balance based on which you are preparing the financial statements, you are preparing the audited financial statements, you are giving the audit report, you're giving the tax report, you're giving the GST audit report, make sure to take that signature, say this we authorize, we confirm, we read and confirm the above trial balance, and based on this we require you to compile the data and prepare the financial statements and also the audit report. Take this kind of a session, take this in your audit documentation files. Again, Division 1, Schedule 2 to the companies has changed from property fixed asset to property, plant, equipment. I have seen this thing. Madam, can I ask one question to the audience, sir, please?
Yes, sure, sir.
Okay, can anyone tell me the schedule of depreciation under the Companies Act 2013 is which? I'm asking, is it Schedule 2 or 14? Is it Schedule 2 or 14?
Sir, yeah,
I got something very interesting to show you. I got something very interesting to show you. It is Schedule 2 of the Companies Act 2013, but I will show you some remarks, some notes in the accounts which say even today the company has provided depreciation on, as per the Schedule 14 of Companies Act 2013. Can you imagine? Can you imagine this kind of mistakes are being made? So why this kind of mistakes? Because we sometimes depend on the article clerk. We sometimes depend on the accountants who are not professionally guided. So please mind you, dear friend, in many of the finance, in many of the balance sheet and the profit and loss account, when they give the notes to accounts, I find the the number 1, 2, and normally number 1 or the last number is not assigned to the significant accounting policies. Number 1 starts from the share capital, then reserves and surplus, and so and so. Ideally, number 1 should be allotted to the significant accounting policies. Then you should say note number 1 to XYZ form an integral part of the financial statements. But this part is missing. In some cases, normally the order should be balance sheet, statement of profit and loss, cash flow statement, notes to accounts. Whereas in one of the cases, I've seen balance sheet, notes to account, statement of profit and loss account, notes to account, and then cash flow and notes to accounts. Very important, sir. Sir, there are many limits under the Companies Act, and honestly, I don't remember limits myself by heart about all the limits. So what we do that before concluding, we see that the limits are required or not. Now, normally the impression of many CAs, small companies, CA and small CA, that cash flow is not required. Cash flow is required only by the listed company. At the same time, there is many, it is required for the companies other than the small companies and all this. Now, when it comes to the small companies and all this, the definition has been changed. Uh, what is this one chat? There is chat is written by you, madam?
Yeah,
Drop it.
I have dropped
Yeah.
for dropping
Yeah,
queries if
yeah,
anyone have.
yeah. Please ask, fill and do
Yeah.
it. So the point is that, sir, last year a company may be a small company and you have not prepared the cash flow statement. It is not required. Fine. But the turnover has changed and now the company is not anymore a small company. So you need to make the cash flow statement, attach this cash flow statement. But normally, what you've done, you relied on the last year's balance sheet and as usual, by gaya वक्त करेलू ते प्रमाणे करी नाखने, and accordingly we forget to do this. So whenever there is a change, एक मिनट, just एक मिनट. There's one chat here. Hi, Mr. Rajesh Dhruv. Hello. Okay. Rajesh bhai, would you like to come on the hot seat, Rajesh bhai? Hello.
Sir, just a second. I can unmute if they want to come. Dhruv sir is right there.
Dhruv bhai. Hello, Dhruv bhai.
No, he is not unmuting, sir.
Huh. Okay, that's fine. मुझे लगता है कि they want to give you a chance and me a chance to interact with self and self आपके साथ. Okay. Fine.
Yes, sir.
So the point is, there are many areas where you need to see this limit is applicable, which was applicable yes last year, and entity was not required to prepare the cash flow statement. Like that, there is many misunderstanding on the part of the rotation of the audit. Rotation of audit, people think that it is meant only for the listed companies only, but it is applicable to the unlisted companies also and private limited company also, where there are some thresholds. I've given this threshold limit to there, so we need to be very careful about the rotation of the audit, sir.
Sir, here I would to like to ask a question. Sir, previously there was a ratification rule, right, for auditors. If this it is still there, sir, or we need to upload any form regarding that ratification, or sir, anything regarding that?
Yes, ratification is still there. Who says it is not there? It is still there. And then you have to file the ADT1 form also, right?
So ADT1 form is for specific period, right?
Specific period, yeah.
Yeah. So during that period, when the form is applicable, we need to only file ratification and resolution for the same.
Yeah. And normally the audit is done, they are appointed for the period of 5 years.
Yes.
Okay, now some chat is there. Okay. As I think they are just entered, so they have given their this thing for that.
For that
CP credits also, and because that is also mandatory that they have to give that number also. Am I right, sir?
No, participant, please note there is no need to drop message for your attendance. The time you log in, your attendance has been marked.
Oh. So when it comes to the accounting policy statement, APS, many companies, many auditors are writing the factual remarks in the audit report and in the audit notes to accounts. See, in notes to accounts, significant accounting policies, in significant accounting policies, note number 1, ideally you should narrate what is the principle that the inventories are carried at the lower of the market net realizable value in this, and this method is applicable. You don't need to give this schedule of the inventories. In many cases, EPS working and related party workings are embedded as a part of the accounting policy. My dear friend, related party policy account is not to be given that who is related party, what are the transactions, what is the opening balance, what is the loan, what are the transactions during there. That is not required to be a part of the accounting policies. It could be a notes to accounts, not denying about it, but is never a part of the accounting policy statement, because they are different from the factual accounting estimate. Please, they are different from the factual accounts. Now here, this is what the accounting policy normally should be. Normally should be the accounting policy, but this is not referred to the notes to account. This is what you should reflect in the notes to account, and this is what you should reflect in the accounting policy statement. But in many cases, I have seen they have given this kind of small working also in the notes to account. Now here is a balance sheet of a company which is created. Madam, can you ask him to mute him? Now this is the balance sheet signed by a very not a official place, but a place in Maharashtra, or maybe I think it's Nagpur. Yeah, and there, can you see the notes are missing? Can you see the notes are missing? This note is not appearing in the scene. So this is how people sometimes are signing the balance sheet without mentioning such notes to accounts. Regarding the accounting policy compliances, about the revenue recognition, very simple statements are being made. Very simple statement. The revenue is recognized when the goods are displayed. In one cases, I've seen the revenue is recognized when the invoice is being prepared, like that. So be very careful that the notes to accounts have to be very, very particular. But sir, I must share one thing with you. Nowadays, I believe there are some your one of the council members, Chintan Bhai Patel, council member of WRC, and your own Chintan Bhai Patel has done a very good job, and maybe even WRC is good job, because nowadays the small and medium practitioner and the small and micro practitioner, I would say, they don't get the the format of the audit report and notes to accounts and all this. I think for that, the WRC or maybe Chintan Patel have done a good job, that they have given the templates of the audit report of a private limited company, wherein the internal control over the financing report is not required, or if at all is applicable, then they have also given that how the smaller companies, if you remember, in August 2016, the Auditing and Accounting Standard Board has issued a very good guidance note on the internal control over the financial matters, that how the smaller companies, mind you well, I repeat the word, that's not small companies, but the smaller companies have to comply with the ICFR requirement. And because that the smaller company means it's a very closely held managed company, where the internal control may not be that strict and may not be that elaborate. So even they have given a very small data, and this will obviate the need for the giving the complete note report on the internal control over the financial reporting. So in many cases, EPS note is not given. EPS, I have seen 10 balance sheet where they are given the EPS working in the notes segment meant for the significant accounting policies. Avoid that. Cash and cash equivalent, majority people are making mistake that the fixed deposit is considered as a cash and cash equivalent. It is not to be considered as a cash and cash equivalent. It is to be considered only as the other bank balances. Mind you well, be careful that cash and cash equivalent, all deposits are not a part of the cash equivalents only. So this is one thing. And I think I've shown one. This is the cash flow statement, again taken from one of the entities, one of the not an official place, like very deep village in some place, or very koi gaon se nahi hai, but this is from a city called Surat. This is from Surat city, and see cash flow statement. I'm yet to understand which method, direct method, indirect method, nothing. And this has been signed by a chartered accountant. This belongs to this pertains to a private limited company, sir. Can you imagine? This is the state of affairs of the certain firms who are doing this. Just a minute. Okay, so this is the very gross thing of this thing. Then financial statement without reference of note we have seen. And as far as significant accounting policies are concerned, you read these notes, sir. I read the significant accounting policy about the uh, uh, this gentleman is very rightly used the part 2. Employee benefits. The number of fixed employees is not above the limit. Now I don't know which limit he's referring to. And daily wages is more than when the law of employee benefits, that is PF ESI, is not taken into consideration. Sir, this has been downloaded and from the site of the ROC, and this has been given. Now look at the income and expenditure recognition. There is no revenue recognition policy written. Income and expenditure are generally accounted on the accrual basis, except for uncertain, unforeseen, immaterial, or insignificant transactions. Now look at the second para. Regarding the material consumption, we would like to specifically bring to the notice that after the success in fruits, now we have started off and successfully launched the products of express ready to eat meal fields. So this is the this is how the disclosure are being made in the financial statements, and that too of a listed that too of a private limited company, sir. So be careful and do make sure that you don't make such mistakes as far as the notes to accounting policies are concerned. At least read the sample policy statements given in the ICA documents and all this. So please be very careful and don't just copy paste. These are extreme example. Now I must tell you, the chartered accountant who is signed is undergoing a severe DC regulations, and he is compelled to he's debarred from 3 years from practice. Imagine the kind of loss he's incurring now. Besides the loss of reputation, all this is very disturbing. So be careful and don't simply route. Now, certain then you write sometimes people write that impairment assets are recognized and accounted at cost in accordance with the accounting standard 26 issued by ICI, sir. This pertains to, this has been extracted from a private limited company account, and private limited companies have to follow the standards notified by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So you cannot say that as they issued by the ICI, but you must write that they are issued by the ICI, and maybe you can write if you really want to write that, but notified by the MCA, and you have to make a very clear statement about that. Deferred tax liability, many very this thing. One another company is written now, subsidies granted by the government for providing the telecom services in the rural areas are recognized as other operating income in accordance with relevant terms and conditions of the scheme and arrangement. This is withdrawn. This is extracted from a listed company, a listed telephone operator. So what is wrong in these statements? Such policies only provide. Now this compilation I made from the compilation, one of the publications by the ICI, where the FRRB and even the institute has FIRB has compiled certain observations, and they say that kindly avoid making such statements. Now, such policies only provide the means to understand those accounting policies adopted by the companies, rather than providing accounting policy more explicitly, and this is not considered as the proper compliance. The notes regarding the materiality MATs are missing in many cases. Intangible assets, borrowing costs. In one of the case, listed company, they has mentioned about the borrowing cost which can be capitalized in the fixed assets, the eligible borrowing cost. I'm talking about the non-Indies company IS 16, AS 16, but the notes about the borrowing cost is missing. Many consultants and auditors argue, okay, sir, we don't have intangible asset, we don't have borrowing costs. Are we supposed to still write a mention about the accounting policy? Answer is yes. Answer is yes, because when a company is formed, when a company takes into account, they have to envisage all possible and plausible transactions. The fact that you do not have the intangible asset does not necessarily mean that there should not be a note about the intangible assets. In fact, it's the other way around. We have found that despite being borrowing costs being capitalized, there is no reference to the notes concerning the borrowing costs. So this is one area. Tangible assets, okay, this is the reference of the borrowing cost is missing. And rather than borrowing cost, sometimes they use the words and phrases finance cost. Now this title is absolutely misleading title. Age 10, as I told you. Now, as far as now again a living example, sir. Again a living example. If anyone is anyway, I don't want to invite because nobody is interested to say, but many still refers the Schedule 14 to the Companies Act. Now, I'll share one good thing. It is old matter now. It's not a new matter anymore. So, and I'm happy if all of you are aware of. I'm happy if I get together that all of you are aware of this. Is no big deal. But let me tell you still the example that AS10 has been changed topsy-turvy, and now it is on the same line as per the Ind AS 16. Ind AS 16 property plan equipment, AS10 is again nomenclated as property plan equipment, is revised, and it is very much as per the Ind AS 16. Now, a paradigm change has been brought by Ind AS 16 and as a sequel thereto by AS10 property plan equipment revised. What are these changes? This change is concerning the method of depreciation. The method of depreciation is now considered as an estimate and not an accounting policy anymore. So what is the big difference? Since it is considered as an accounting as an estimate and not an accounting policy anymore, the changes in the method of depreciation are considered as an estimate and hence applied prospectively and not retrospectively. So one balance sheet, one audit report has come to us for the just Sahib jara review kariye apne, so we reviewed it. And we found that there was a retrospective accounting of property plan equipment depreciation method. And this is pertaining to financial year 2019. So I asked them, sir, Sahib, no, sir, accounting principle ma policy has been changed and which is to be accounted for retrospectively. I said, yes, sir, no denying. But there's a change in AS10 as a sequel to the changes because AS10 is more or less on the ground of on the line of the AS in AS 16, and forget about that, whether it's on the line of that or this line or that line, forget. Basically, AS10 device says, if I'm not mistaken, in paragraph 53 and 63, that that useful life, residual value, and method of depreciation must be reviewed by the entity at every year end. And changes in all this are considered as a change in an estimate and hence applied prospectively. Changes in all these are considered as a change in an account is an estimate and applied prospectively. Now this sentence should also be there. This sentence should also be there in all your balance sheet for in your notes to accounts concerning the accounting policy statement, not just for the I think in AS it is only for the in property plan equipment. They need to be mentioned about this sentence. You need to make a mention about this sentence that management has reviewed the useful life, residual value, and method of depreciation, and changes therein are accounted for a change in a are dealt with as if it's a change in the estimate, and not just this. Don't make the sentence. Don't write the sentence just for sake of writing. But if it is a private limited company, then this kind of provision, this kind of notes must be there in the board meeting. Now, board meeting must have the agenda that to review the useful life, residual value, and the method of depreciation in the agenda of the board, which is discussing this at every quarter. So at least in the last quarter, you should have this. Don't write schedule 14 is a matter of history, sir. And see the revenue related, the revenue requires on the dispatch of goods to the customer when it is earned. Can you see this, sir? I don't know why it's not coming.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm trying to figure out the.
Link is not open.
Okay, now, so these are the example of, I gave you an example that we have changed from fruits to the ice cream, and this kind of rubbish notes, please avoid that. And well, I don't mean to say that when that gentleman has made a mistake, even you are making mistake like that. No, no, please don't get me wrong. About the drawback and all this, again, they are not to be accounted on the cash incentive or the cash basis. They have to be accounted on the accrual basis. So be careful that companies are not allowed to follow the cash method. There is no concept of mixed method. There is only and only the. Okay, one area which is again a very highly neglected area is the contingent liabilities. In case of contingent liability, these are the areas where the contingent liability have to be disclosed, and these are like this: bill discounted when export promotion, credit guarantee related disclosures are that when you import the things and not pay the stamp, not pay the custom duty, you need to consider those EPGC related liabilities and make a disclosure in the contingent liability. Same is the case with the corporate guarantee, financial guarantee given to the letter of credit for the import, trade commitments, letter of comfort on behalf of the subsidiary. Please, friends, make sure to make this disclosure. So, friends, ultimately, I must say one thing that no one can help you but yourself. No one can help you with yourself. You should again start learning, gaining your knowledge yourself. Okay, and then please make sure that you devote some time and don't sign any audit report, or don't sign any audit report in hurry, because you will be jeopardizing your credentials, your roji roti, and besides that, your self-esteem will be will be affected a lot more, and you'll never be able to digest, because no one is going to stand by you. Mind you well, client will never say, okay, it is my owners. And even if client says my owners, institute is not going to spare you. Okay, so this you want to say something, Ami?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Sir, here I want to ask whether expenses reimbursed to directors, right? In many of the companies, we see that first of all, the expenses are reimbursed and then we take off, right? Sir, is this required to be mentioned over here under notes to related parties?
Mm, well, on a conservative basis, I would always say, okay, you better make a disclosure. Now, my second question: what stops you from, and what is the harm in disclosing some transactions?
There is no harm, but sometimes, sir, as you said before, that parties are like, why you need to disclose all this and everything. But we make sure we make disclose it. But many of the balance sheet I have seen, there are no such heads. Expenses reimbursed to directors, and mostly in many of the companies, such instances are there, sir.
Hmm.
That's why I wanted to clarify it, sir.
I would suggest that you must disclose this, and there is no harm in disclosing, because if the company has reimbursed to the directors, it must be for the legitimate expenses. Yes or no?
Yes, sir, sure.
When the company has no hesitation in recognizing these expenses, I don't see any reason why there should be hesitation for reimbursement of expenses. Now, good you reminded about me this thing. Many companies give loan to the directors, right? Or or that if not director, to that associate companies or the partnership firm and all these. So when we sign the Caro report, we are not aware of this requirement. Mind you, where for a company which is a profit-making company and which has an accumulated balances, and directors normally hold more than, if the directors hold more than 10%, then loans to directors will be the most devastating nomenclature, please, because not from the company's point of view, but from the perspective of the section 222E, deemed dividend, right? So deemed dividend is one thing we have to be very careful and concerned about. And as far as 185, 186 is concerned, please friends, be careful. Be careful about that. And especially when the company has borrowed the funds, when the company has borrowed from the public financial institutions and defaulted there, at that point in time, you need to take the approval for the any further investment under section 186, because you know that when the investments are made beyond the threshold limit of 100% and 60% of these share paid up capital reserves in the share premium account, you need to take the permission of the shareholders by way of a special resolution. But if the company has defaulted, then you also need to take the permission, then or the permission approval, prior approval from the this entities. PFI, what is this, sir? Is one chat? Okay. So they insist in hiding expenses made by them in the balance sheet. So tell me one thing. You meant to say, Mr. Anju Bhatt, Miss Anju Bhatt, that the parent or the senior directors or the owners will come to know about his expenses only if it is being shown or disclosed or presented disclosed in the related party, and not not through other means. Hello, hello, someone want to say something?
Hello.
Yes, please.
And Anju, but would you like to talk with sir?
It gets highlighted. No, she replied, it gets highlighted. Okay. Now, fine, it gets highlighted, that's fine. But sir, madam, the word uses any transaction with the say. Of course, transaction does not mean that, but reimbursement, in my opinion, and a very conservative opinion, I would say that one should declare. Company making investment in fixed deposit is SR required. Um, um, what is the limit of that? What is the limit of the what is the, okay, then tell me, Deepak Papadiyaji.
Yes.
Deepak bhai,
Yeah. The next question is from Deepak sir.
I'm seeing that only. I'm
yeah,
reading that
okay.
only. Company making investment in fixed deposit is SR required. What is the amount of the fixed deposit, and what is the amount of the share paid up share capital reserves and the share premium account? Okay. Investment is 1 lakh. What about the paid up share capital and all this? What are the reserves? Pre-reserves? Hello, I'm talking the net worth of the account. 8,000. Okay. So, okay. So fixed deposit is kind of an investment only. It's a financial asset. It is a financial asset. Then you need to take the resolution SR from the shareholder before that. What I would suggest, Deepak bhai, how many companies you have done how many companies you have done this kind of caveat? What a company secretary advises us, that sir, take the blanket permission from the companies in the first week of April. In the first week of April, you should take some permission from the company shareholder, because every time when the company, see, in the first place, I'm sure that you'll agree with me with one thing. Clients, they don't tell us before entering into any kind of transaction, but they will come to us only after entering into transaction. બધું કરીને પછી કે સાહેબ આ કર્યું છે, આ તો ઠીક છે, તમને જણાવી દઉં. And but by that time, sometimes the threshold limit is over, sometimes the period is over, and sometimes when you do backdated, department understands that this is nothing but an eyewash. Okay, sir. So be very careful. And one of the most devastating fact is, sir, the loan from the directors. Loan from the directors, that is a deposit from the directors, is permissible, not denying. If a person is a director, at the same time shareholder also, he is considered as a director. Agreed. Company can take a deposit from the shareholders, from the directors, and still it is not considered as a deposit, provided the director gives a written confirmation that this amount which is given to the company is not from any loans or advances or any borrowings. Now, many companies think that this is permissible, so he will take loan from someone else and give it to the company, which is very wrong. However, not a single case has come up to this level as to whether the loan has been taken or not. But of late, the ROC is now has been instructed by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Now, Ministry of Corporate Affairs say that it has been observed that many companies have defaulted or could have defaulted. It is apprehended or could have defaulted in the requirement of section 73, 74, 75, 76 related to the deposits from the deposit by a private limited company or a public limited company, which is known as an eligible company. And maybe there could be a special drive for 73 to 76, 185 and 186. Take my words, don't get shocked when you see a notice like this from the MCA or the ROC. So be careful that when the loan is given by the director, not all the loans are not considered as a deposit. Only those loans which have been given from their own resources. Okay, from their own resources. One word which is missing in this is the advance. Okay, advance and borrowings are the different. Advance is not the same thing as the borrowing. So be careful. I give you one hint to protect yourself. The word used is the borrowing or the any of the loans, but no advances. Advances can be received for against property or anything, right, sir? So be careful. Now, as far as related party is concerned, be careful that okay. Now this is fine. Their useful life is fine. Depreciation is okay. Okay. Now, there is a myth that should the investment property be depreciated or not. I have we've come across many queries that investment property need not be depreciated. It is wrong thing. Investment property is to be followed as per the cost model under the IS Ind 16 and AS 10 revised, and that is to be depreciated without fail. So don't investment property like a land, like a building which is given on rent is to be investments is 13 again, very big lacunas. Investment stated as cost. I give the example, boss, that non-compliance by a Bombay-based chartered accountant, a very senior chartered accountant who is on the verge of retirement, maybe 68 years old. He is unfortunately facing this action from the DC that why you have not mentioned this in your report about the notes to accounts about the market value. Then it is not impaired. It is not impacted the EPS, no way in any manner. But still, it is right. Now, income from investments. Very rarely people write income from investment from the short term and from the long term and current investment. The investment income from the long term and current investment have to be segregated, but very rarely I'll see income from dividend, income from interest, income from bonds, but within that they have to be segregated between the long term investment and the current investments. So again, a very common phenomena. Private limited companies are normally meant to make losses. correct? They are nothing, but they are just an extended arm of the partnership firm or the small LLP or the small HU. Mostly private limited company are making losses because salary to the salary the dividend distribution tax was, when it was there, there was no incentive to transfer the money to the directors, to the shareholders by way of a dividend. But now, of course, again, depending on the tax rate and the slab rate of the shareholders, many of the key shareholders are paying taxes at 39 and 43%, 42%. So company now do not, even earlier and now also not giving, distributing the dividend. But they pay salaries, huge salary, remuneration, and they say private limited company na kharcha na ko buddu je hote to pan khaute bima jai. But as a result of it, there's a lot of accumulated losses. Now, I want to ask question to the forum that many of these companies, I mean, largely not with few bearing few expenses, few exceptions, but have you seen the company mostly they are making losses? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And their net worth is eroded. Hello, Anuben, Anuji, what is your observation about the private limited company balance sheets and all this capital structure? Hello, Anju Bhatji. Hello.
Hello, Anju Bhatji, are you there?
So mostly I have seen the companies having the negative word. Now, we may take it very lightly. Yes, it's a negative word, that's fine. But essentially it means that, just a minute. Essentially it means that your net worth is eroded, and it poses a question about the going concern. This we must make sure get some kind of assertion, management's representation from the management, and just make sure that going concern address issue is addressed. What you should do, besides taking the management's representation note, besides taking the management representation, you should also mention this in the notes to accounts, some statement by the management that the management is committed to provide the support to the company by way of the infusion of the capital or the loan as and when required by the company, which it has been doing since last so many years. And they undertake and they see to it that the timely support will be provided to the company in terms of the cash or or as and when the company is having any liquidity crunch. And make this mention in your audit report. There is one area which I am finding the absent. I find this absent in the audit report of the unlisted companies, and more so the private limited company, is an emphasis of matter paragraph. Emphasis of matter paragraph you must write when you get the audit from the earlier auditor, then saying that the financial statements we are the auditor for the first time. Earlier the comparatives have been audited by some other concern, and so that will come in the other matter, that will come in the other matters paragraph. But the emphasis of matter paragraph you should always say. And I have seen one or two audit report wherein emphasis of matter paragraph was there, and he simply mentioned that we are drawing your attention to the fact that company has not provided for the gratuity. In that note, one very, very important aspect was missed out in the emphasis of matter paragraph is that whenever there is an emphasis of matter paragraph, you must always quote or cite the relevant paragraph in the notes to accounts. Emphasis of matter paragraph is normally meant to draw the attention in a specific manner of the readers of the audit report or the financial statement. So be careful when you have when you use emphasis of matter paragraph, which is being rarely used, but there's no harm by doing by inserting emphasis of matter paragraph. In fact, you are not doing any harm to yourself, or even I would say to the client also. And because normally
So there is one question from a
Rajesh,
participant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rajesh bhai, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
The paid up capital is always 1 lakh, Manish bhai. I agree with you, but and that too it was required. But now the paid up capital requirement initially has been removed. That it was there at some point in time, but still people give at least 1 lakh. Sir, in case of a private limited company closer, we have to show loss in PNL equivalent to share capital and free reserve. Rajesh bhai, I didn't get your query. Would you like to unmute yourself or be more specific by for chat also? Rajesh bhai? Rajesh bhai, would you
ધ્રુવ
like
સર
to?
ધ્રુવ સર તમને અનમ્યુટ ની રિક્વેસ્ટ મોકલી છે અગર તમે વાત કરી શકો તો
કેમ અમદાવાદના સીએ બધા શરમાળ છે આટલા બધા?
સર હું બી અમદાવાદી છું.
Hello.
હા જી, કેમ છો?
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my query is that in case of the private limited company, if management want to management want to close the company or eliminate the name from the ROC, we have to show the loss in last 2 to 3 years, keeping in mind there is a we have to provide the statement of income as per the ROC, where the share capital and free reserve. At the same time, on the other side, the loss of the profit or loss account is zero, and we have to close the bank account before the closure of the company.
Rajesh bhai,
Eliminate the name from the ROC, sir.
I know. That is
In such cases,
striking of the name of the company you are referring to strike.
yes, so in such cases, we have to put the note for regarding the going concern.
Yes. Now, Rajesh bhai, you have raised a correct point. And see, in the first place, there is no need that this losses have to be shown. There is no need that losses have to be shown. But what I gather is that in last 1 year, there should not be any transaction in the company. The company should not have carried on any business activities. And what you say is correct. The balance sheet have to be reduced to zero in the sense that all liabilities have been paid off. Bank account has been zero. So in that case, when you write a note to the accounts, in such case, when the company is being closed, say for my March ending 2021, the company is getting closed, right? And after the year is over, companies will apply for the striking off. So at that point of time, you should make sure that company, the management has decided to close down the company, and the accounts have been returned on the liquidation basis, on the cash basis, and not on the mercantile basis. Please make sure to make this right.
Okay, sir.
Because
Thank you very much.
Because when the company is getting closed down, you cannot write the books on the accrual basis. Of course, there's nothing is going to be there in the balance sheet as well, because I have come across the balance sheet where it is zero, almost zero.
Almost zero. Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
But fine. But sir, Rubai, I'm talking about the going concern. I'm talking about the continuing company. The company is continue to doing its business, and
Right.
it's not being closed down, but still laden with so much of a losses.
Right,
So
sir.
then it may raise a question about the going concern. So in that case, you should get a note from the management to be inserted in the notes to accounts, and refer this paragraph about the going concern in your audit report, drawing attention to this note, and then say that we are satisfied about this plan, mitigation plan, and all kind of thing. So make sure, because if you keep on showing the balance losses for years to come, it may raise doubt about the going concern.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, Rajesh bhai. Achha, now these are the areas which normally we are shy of getting the work, like engagement letter, representation of the management letter, and documentation. Sir, documentations, we must be careful. The first ever document is that your trial balance from the accounting system, and then even the balance sheet and all these. Besides, let them approve in the board. We are not concerned about it, which they have to. But you make an assertion from them that accounting trial balance annexed here too by way of annexure 1, annexure 2, annexure 3 जो भी है is approved by us and is considered to be final, and based on which we request you to kindly proceed for the audit or finalize account or compilation of account, as the case may be. See, in private limited company, they are bound to accept it. But what happens in the LLP and other partnership firm and all this? So by doing so, you are tightening your management, your client with this. Okay, you don't make any mistake after that, because we know that Tally is prone to make any changes. Correct, sir? And when the changes are made in the Tally account after you're done, then don't, I mean, they won't be able to raise any finger before you against you that you made this mistake. Get my point, sir? And get my letter, please do write. Many companies do not requirement of the Caro, so be very careful about that. Caro 21 is again deferred by one more year. Caro 21 initially was to be applicable, Caro 20 was to be applicable in March 1920. That was deferred to 2021, and now again Caro is deferred to 21-22. So the Caro 20 will be applicable from financial year 21-22, a big relief. So it's not applicable to even this financial year also. Now, about the financial, the internal financial control and all these, as I told you, 143.3 say that when there is a 1% company or a turnover less than 50 crore rupees, or the aggregate borrowing is less than 25 crore rupees, the companies need not comply with the internal financial control requirement. So if it is not required, don't indulge into this. Don't try to venture out and say the company has complied with this, because it will be a wrong this thing. Okay, sir? If a private limited company has not paid the equalization, now this is one area, Rajesh bhai, many companies have defaulted. I must draw your attention, and you got the very right point. Very good point raised by you, Rajesh bhai. Dhanyavad tamne. To foreign company does not have to be in India in such issue. Now, okay. Now, boss.
Sir, what is our responsibility as a statutory auditor?
Huh?
What is our responsibility as a statutory auditor if it comes in our during our audit, the equalization levy tax is applicable to that private limited company, but they have not paid. So in such circumstances, we disclose by way of notes on in account.
I will show you. I don't have the. You share your email ID with the branch, and I will draw your attention to the listed companies notes to accounts, wherein the compliance not regarding the equalization taxes, but one of the company, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Sun Pharma, and that is for financial year 13 or 14, not too sure. But Rajesh bhai, you share your number or the email ID with this Kanya. Kanya, please, there are number share.
Yes. Sure.
And I will share this with you. There was a non-compliance of few lakhs, a few crore rupees. So what you should do, that you insert a note in the financial statements about this, that company has not paid this kind of duties or XYZ, and also draw their attention by way of an emphasis of matter, and then say, okay, depending on the gravity of the situation, if the amount is CA Rajesh Dhruv, તો હું છે ને તમારું એની પર પિક્ચર લઈ લઉં છું રાજેશભાઈ. મેડમ ને તકલીફ ના આપું, એટલે I will take the.
Thank you sir.
અરે થેન્ક યુ શું યાર, હવે આપણે બધા હમ સન પંછી એક ડાલ કે યાર, અમે બી કોઈક પાસે શીખ્યા છે હજી બી. See, I am not a complete man like Raymond's. I always maintain that I am not a complete man like Raymond's, right? અને એ તો શીખવાનું છે. કાલે ઉઠીને એક વસ્તુ તમારી પાસે શીખીશ, હું તમારી પાસે શીખી લઈશ કે સાહેબ હવે મને ઇક્વિલાઇઝેશન નું લેવીનું બતાવો, શું છે રિક્વાયરમેન્ટ. You get my point, sir?
Yeah.
So anyway, life is a learning curve, and you should then write that we draw your attention to this non-compliance with XYZ, and then also write if the item is a material, our opinion is not changed because of this. You get my point?
Yeah.
Or we don't change our opinion, or our opinion is not modified because of this emphasis of matter paragraph. So
Sir, what's happened, sir? In such a case, what happened? The foreign company is not going to bear the equalization levy tax in India. So, but obviously, it is going to debit in my PNL account.
hey, but Rajesh bhai, what I understand that there is a non-compliance to with pay to this tax, right?
Suppose they are going to comply, then it will come in PNL account because of the foreign company is not going to bear the equalization tax. They are least concerned.
I agree with you, sir. I agree with you. But the point is that there is a non-compliance on the part of your client, right? They were
Yeah,
supposed to pay and not paid.
yeah, sir.
So this non-compliance, you just simply draw your attention by making them insert the note, and simply you write. But I tell you one thing, knowing our clients, they will say, "Sir, sukam paid chodine sudu bhi karo." So you know why inviting charge?
Yeah. Agreed.
Because they will always say, "Okay, by reading this kind of notes glaringly, ITO वाला scrutiny नहीं करो से तो ही कर सकेंगे से, right?"
But actually, sir, what happened? Why I raised this question? Because of that client of that particular assessment year, IT return gone in the
Scrutiny.
scrutiny.
Hmm.
I have replied in such a nice fashion. We got the nil scrutiny report and without nil adjustment. But suppose if that point comes to in their mind at the time of scrutiny, so what will happen to the auditor?
Sir, see, in the first place, the materiality is concerned, and you have to make sure that non-compliance has to be brought to the notice by an auditor. But tell me one thing, Rajesh bhai,
Yeah.
I would say that one must disclose this. But tell me one thing, what was your reply? Now, I think I'm more interested in hearing from you rather than making you hear me and making you hear from me.
Sir, I will
What
send.
was your reply? Because you will benefit all other CAs of the Ahmedabad community.
Sir, I will send my reply because of its 3 to 4 page reply
Okay.
to the IT authority, and we got the
I mean, it was a nil addition, clean
nil
report,
addition report.
no
but,
addition.
but I was under pressure. This is the important point. If it comes to the notice of the IT who are doing the online scrutiny, then they will ask the demand for last 3 to 4 years also, sir.
It can happen. It can
Yeah,
happen.
so I will share in to your mail ID. Whatever I have replied, I will share with your mail ID, sir.
Right.
ધ્રુવ સર પાક્કું બધાને મોકલો જેથી બધાને અમને બ્રાન્ચમાં મોકલો જેથી અમે સર્ક્યુલેટ કરીને બધાને હેલ્પ કરી શકીએ.
Please send me your mail ID so I can send to the branch.
Very good, Rajesh bhai. Rajesh bhai, very good, very good.
Okay, sir. Okay.
તમારી સરનેમ ધ્રુવ છે ને મારો ગ્રેન્ડસન ધ્રુવ છે.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
મારા ઈમેલ આઈડી મારા WhatsApp પર એ જ છે નો નંબર.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay. So now about this thing, sir, now there is a lot of confusion about the small companies and all this. So we have to be very careful. The relaxation has been given to the smaller companies, mind you well. For the first time, the ICI has used not the word small companies, but the smaller companies, which is predominantly like this: few line of business, few control, few levels of tiers of management, few personnels, many having the wide range of duties, less use of complex IT system. So there is a very short report given by them, and this is the example of the short report that, in our opinion, it is not a long form report like the way when there is a actually effective control and the company is not a smaller company. So make use of this thing. Caro is not applicable. Now, in one of the case, one person say that if any one of the companies, anyone to claim exemption, all three conditions must be applied, must be fulfilled. That means if the company is not a subsidiary, that's fine, but having the paid up capital of not more than rupees 1 crore, which does not have a total borrowing of rupees 1 crore. So in this case, if any one item is crossed, this is not crossed, this is crossed, and this is not crossed. Even if only one of the item is being crossed, the company has to, yes, of course, I'll share with the PPTs with you. Not to worry, beta. Anjuji, Anujji or Anjuji, Jubi, sorry, what's your name? I must read your name. Anju Bhatt. Anju Ben, we will share this with you. Okay. So see, always one more thing, sir. Now I'll share something very recently. which has happened. Nothing to do with the Companies Act, but it has happened with the 5627B. Yes, 5627B, which deals with the share premium account. That if the share premium is collected by the assessee and the funds are raised from the shareholders within the India and not abroad, because if you're getting funds from the abroad from the NRE account or NRI account, then you have to fill up the form FC2, FC3 form, and at that point of time you have to get the valuation report done as per the Reserve Bank of India requirement. So if funds have been taken, if the share premium has been realized from the NRI or the NRE or the non-resident Indian or the non-resident and routed through NRE account or NRI account, and you complied with the RBI requirement, the premium will not be added to your income. It will not be disallowed. That's fine. But what about the money raised within the India? So in that case, you need to take the merchant banker certificate valuation report. Earlier there were the categories, now the categories are not there. So just one second. Haan bhai. Yeah. Nee, I'm just on a webinar, and that too for your Ahmedabad only. Okay, so please, I'll call you back. Again, my friend from Ahmedabad, Rinkesh only, so I thought maybe he's raising some query about this, so I took the phone, otherwise I should not take the phone. So there is an proviso that provided the funds have been received from the alternate investment fund or the SEBI registered fund, correct? So if the company in India, private limited or any company is raising funds from the SEBI registered fund or AIF, which is again registered with the SEBI register, AIF is also registered with the SEBI, then there is no addition for the share premium account, even if you have not obtained the valuation certificate from the merchant banker. Even if you're not taken from the merchant banker, it is still so like this. You need to read time and again. So what I advise you, sir, that you need to do following things. Just a minute. Okay, before Dhrubai's number gets okay, fine. So Dhrubai, just text me your number. Okay. So the point is, sir, the point is that when we were dealing with our client, we were dealing with the AIF, alternate investment funds. It was SEBI registered. And 3 days he kept on harping that Mr. Desai, what about this? Mr. Desai, what about this valuation report? We need to have blah, blah, blah. हजार सवाल कायडा અને એમને બધાને પકાવ્યા અને એટલો ટાઈમ લીધો કે વાત નહીં પૂછો. Then we said, sir, we draw your attention to the fact that if we manage to get the funds from these SEBI registered funds, so he said, yeah, why not? We are SEBI registered. Okay, so that is the reason that we need to do so. The point is, we need to be very careful about the act. So whenever anything comes up, please take up the act on the one hand and then read, rather than giving any opinion on your own, and rather than relying on your memory. Okay, sir. And I think the time is running out. You have another session. Okay, you another session. Okay, it was end of this session only. Okay, friends, thanks, friends.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, Rajesh bhai.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I would like to thank you on behalf of the branch and all the participants. It was great to have you, sir. You have decoded all the definitions which are complicated in the easiest possible manner. And sir, I'm sure your guidance will surely help us all out here when we face these situations in our real life. Sir, it will be great to have you when the situation normalizes. It would be great to have you at branch. Sir, thank you once again for your sparing this time.
Thanks all my Gujarati, Ahmedabadi and Ahmedabadi friends. It was very nice interacting. Very hectic for me, but I couldn't say no. I had a session for one of the big 4 companies, and it was from 10 to 4, and from 4 to 5:30 I have taken this session, and now again the picture bhi baki hai. I'm undergoing a training for the IBC. My next session for the IBC training, which I will be listening to my faculty, is from 7 to 9 today.
Okay. Sir, thank you for sparing time for us and guiding us, sir.
For,
Thank you, sir.
for ICI, for Ahmedabad, for any part of Gujarat, I'm always ready, friends. Okay, friends, thank you so much. God bless you. And
हाँ,
try and secure and safeguard yourself. Client
Thank you, sir.
किसी के थे नहीं, किसी के बनेंगे भी नहीं.
सही बात है
केवल आपको
सच्ची
अपना
बात
ख्याल रखना. God bless you all.
थैंक यू
राजेश भाई, मजा आ गया बापू.
सर